So last week, a really interesting piece of video game history was revealed unto the world. And if you've missed the headlines, back in 1999, Microsoft tried to buy Square, Nintendo, and a few other studios as they were getting ready to jump into the console market. In the case of Nintendo, they were laughed at for over an hour. And with Square, they actually almost closed the deal until at the last minute, Square-Enix stood up and said, "We want more money." While everyone seemed focused on the fact that Nintendo laughed Microsoft out of the room last week, I'm asking a different kind of question, and to do so, I'm bringing in some expert financial advice. So, could Microsoft buy Square-Enix, or Sega, or Nintendo today? Now, beyond Microsoft, there's also the other question, could Sony, could Google, could Amazon? And we'll explore that in today's video. Welcome everyone to Ginger Prime. My name is Brian. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, Soul Nation. Today, you've unlocked the legendary title of The Historian. I hope you rep it with pride, and I'm looking forward to your comments below based off of that title alone. But we have a lot to talk about, and as always, you can always use the video playhead to jump to any part that interests you the most. It is not my intention to waste your time. Hopefully this is a fun and informative exploration into video game history and into the business of video games in that regard. So I hope you guys, and I would love it if you hit that subscribe button and maybe check out my other content. If you guys enjoy the content, I hope you stick around for more of it, but you're always welcome to unsubscribe at any time as well. No hard feelings. So first and foremost, there's actually a core problem. There's a bigger reason for this video, and it's something that I've been just mulling over along, for a while now. I plan on actually talking about this on Ginger Gaming Radio regarding the Final Fantasy XIV and the Game Pass problem, if that's going to be something that plays out or doesn't. But I want to talk about the core problem Microsoft faces and why we're going to see them acquire even more studios or make even bigger partnership and content deals as ever before. And it's the problem of Game Pass. Now, I personally love Game Pass. I think Game Pass is a great service, but it does present a problem for Microsoft. If you want to keep your subscribers, if you want to grow your subscribers, you're going to need a steady flow of content. Content is king. And this is something where Microsoft has to partner or buy. And so that's why I really kind of want to bring up Square Enix, Sega, and even the concept of Nintendo in terms of how much money, what it would cost for them to even consider purchasing these companies, especially after the Bethesda deal. Are these companies valued higher? Are they valued lower? And if they can't do it, could Sony do it? Could Google do it? And yeah, let's go ahead and explore it. So first up is Square Enix. Square Enix would take anywhere from $7 to $12 billion to acquire as a company. They've got a lot of things going on, and regardless of recent financial losses with the Avengers, note that they're a company with a lot of IP and a lot of property. Why would Microsoft be interested in Square Enix? Well, they've tried to do it before. That's kind of the point of bringing them back up here. I wonder, we don't know the original figure of what they were offered back in the day, but I would assume 7 to 12 billion is definitely an increase in terms of that profit. Now, when we look at the already partnership that they've made with Square Enix, we were seeing all the Final Fantasy games trickle their way into Game Pass. That brings up the question, would we ever see Final Fantasy XIV in the service? And while like I said, I'm going to explore that in another video, I want to say that even the CEO of Square Enix has talked about how he wants to make games exclusively for the cloud and even exclusive to these different services. Right now, Game Pass kind of being the premier one. Sony is even talking about doing it as well. So could Microsoft buy Square Enix? Easily. Microsoft could easily buy Square Enix, even if Square Enix did not want to be purchased. Same thing actually goes for Sony, same thing goes for Google, and same thing goes for Amazon. All of those companies have enough money, enough capital on hand if they wanted to make this relationship official. Now, as far as Microsoft goes, I can see them continue to do more partnership deals with Square in and of itself. I could see Sony being interested. A lot of people are raising the question, would Sony do it? Because they were already getting these exclusive deals, namely for the PlayStation. We're seeing it right now with Final Fantasy XVI, Final Fantasy VII-R. So there seems to be that. So it could be a kind of a situation in which that, Microsoft's maybe getting tired of being hamstrung out there in the JRPG world. But more than Square Enix, I still think and hold that Microsoft buying Sega is perhaps the right option, because when we look at the Persona series, a series that has not come to the Xbox yet, and still on PC, having that kind of feed, having Sega, especially with Phil Spencer talking about how not only do they want to be able to get more into Japan, but they want more E-rated games. It's not just about the shooters and the looters and the kind of the hardcore game for the hardcore audience. They want to be able to make Game Pass a service that has just an endless supply of a lot of content. Like when you look at the Netflix of games, Netflix itself, I can see my kids constantly using that, rewatching the same shows over and over again. So I could see Microsoft, and even Phil Spencer's own words, hint that they want to be able to pick up a wide range of IP, especially with any kind of further acquisition. Especially with Sega, they have a very close relationship. Phantasy Star Online 2 is there. Microsoft's doing a lot of hosting for their servers and things like that. So from a business-to-business perspective, if not Square-Enix, I could see Microsoft kind of going the route of Sega, especially after Sega's massive recent losses due to the COVID crisis, due to them not being able to do the arcade business as they have been kind of supported on still to this day, and that kind of changing over this last year. Now, obviously, this still could apply to Sony. This could easily still apply to Google. Pretty much, if Microsoft can buy them, you could bet that Sony and Google could buy them in this case, because both have enough capital. That changes when we come to the concept of Nintendo. Nintendo has over $13 billion in cash. To buy them, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, whoever, would have to spend at least $75 billion to $100 billion. If Nintendo did not want to be bought, if the hostile takeover was something that was going to happen, Nintendo has enough cash to fight off that hostile takeover. And so it would end up being very bad for Microsoft to try and acquire Nintendo. So ultimately for them, they would have to do some kind of form of partnership, something where like, hey, Nintendo, we're going to take over your online infrastructure. We're not going to charge you a dime, and we're going to let, you handle the Switch. We're going to bring your games to Game Pass. Something like that would be a tectonic shift in the industry. Let's not just beat around the bush here. Like that would be something that would be just like how we kind of learned back in 1999, they tried to buy Nintendo. Today it would still be something. And that was also before Nintendo GameCube and kind of the somewhat decline of Nintendo before the Wii, and then the decline with the Wii U, and now the Switch being so dominant in this case. Google and Amazon, Google more or less likely, they've got so much money that they could spend. And the question would be, would it be worth the fight for them? I don't know if it's necessarily worth that kind of fight, because that's like, these numbers feel unreal. And, I've never seen $1 million in my life, let alone like $1 billion of them, right? So it's like these numbers just feel fake and phony when these things are being thrown around. So ultimately, it all just kind of seems to come together in that regards. I can see Nintendo continuing to be Nintendo and doing their own thing, but personally speaking, I love my Switch, but honestly, I would love to see something a little bit more. Like, I don't play Switch for non-Nintendo games, and that's just how it's been. I don't play Nintendo for anything but Nintendo, and honestly, I would love to be able to have a little bit more flexibility, so I tend to spend more time gaming on non-Nintendo platforms, and that just seems to be the way it is ultimately. I think essentially at the core of it, kind of the final thing I want to kind of take away is just the value of these companies and what they bring to the market. I could see, and the question is that, is it worth it to spend that kind of money on these companies? And I think that's where perhaps the way forward for some of these companies will be in kind of locking down exclusive deals. Like right now, Square-Enix is specifically having a hard time with that word, looking to be able to kind of have those kind of relationships. And I'm sure, especially with Google and their Stadia platform, Amazon with their Luna platform, Sony with the PS5 and Xbox, trying to gather and kind of claw and get any kind of market share they can for this multi-billion dollar industry that we call gaming. All right. And that's the video, guys. Hopefully you found it interesting. I want to say thank you so much to my dad, the legend, the expert financial advice. I've been just texting him for the last week, talking about these scenarios, like how much money would it take, what would it cost, and he's a financial guy, so he just goes and looks up all the numbers and kind of puts his work to it. So I really appreciate Dad taking time with me to make this video in that regards. So I'd love to know what you guys think. Sony, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, like, do you see any more future acquisitions coming down the pipe in 2021? And if so, what do you think how's that going to play out with the whole system and the console wars and more like that? Anyway, I do want to say thank you to our new member, Tyler R., for hitting that join button and helping support the diaper fund, as well as our top comment from the previous video of Kinwio, I'm probably butchering the name, saying these vids are definitely a guilty pleasure, totally getting back because of W2G in regards to should you go and play Final Fantasy XIV in 2021. And yes, you should. You should totally check out the video. Hopefully you enjoy it, but you should also check out the free trial for Final Fantasy XIV. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, the best way you can help is hitting that like button, that share button, hit that subscribe button. And I say this with all sincerity, only if you feel like I've earned it. There's a lot of junk out there, like on the internet, obviously, and I'd rather have the best community and not necessarily the biggest. So just keep in mind if you want to kind of check out my content and be a part of this community in the comments below. If you've made it to the end of this video, guys, I thank you so much for your time today. Let me know what your thoughts are below, and I'm going to do my best to respond to them, or hopefully address them maybe in a future video if needed. For Ginger Prime, my name's Brian. Thank you for being here. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you in my next video. But until then, take care.